Yeah, the key to overcoming adversity is to get present and focus on the process. So many of us like to think about what we need to do and all the work to get there and how to get back up after we get knocked down, but it's really about just doing the daily chores in baseball. Like for baseball, was hitting off the batting tee, but doing those little things and focusing on that and letting the results take care of themselves.
Shawn, you had what could be argued the greatest hitting performance in a single game in the history of Major League Baseball. I mean, it really could be argued. You hit 4 home runs, a single and a double, 6 for 6, unbelievable day. Do you remember what was kind of going through your mind that day? You mean maybe as you were coming to the ballpark or through the process of all these unbelievable home runs and hits, or like where was your mind at during this game?
Yeah, as the game went on, my mind got more and more still. And I've had some stretches of when I was playing where I would get in some good zones and all that, but this was different in the sense that I really felt like I was a passenger, like I was almost observing from the outside what was happening. And what was different, I think, about this day than some other hot streaks that I had was I didn't let the anxiety of being in such a good place get in the way. A lot of times, like, oh, I feel so good. I don't want to blow it and waste this moment. Because in the course of a season, really, it's like the stock market. It's like a few great days make your season. And so that day, I was just so settled in, and I felt like I was just along for a ride.
But you had some challenges, right? Hitting challenges, leading up to that moment. And how'd you work through those?
Yeah, you were in a pretty bad slump, weren't you?
I was, yeah. And so I had the year before, I set the team record with 49 home runs. So I had a big year, and the expectations were really high. I had a big contract coming over. I was entering the 3rd year of this contract, and I got off to a super slow start. About a quarter of the way through the season, I had 3 home runs. So you do the math. I was on pace for 12 or 13 home runs after hitting 49. Wow. Yeah. And that homestand before we left and went to Milwaukee, where that game was, I was getting booed by the home crowd for the first time, and I think I was 0 for 18. That Saturday, that manager's like, "Hey, take the day off. You just need to clear your head." And I was a guy who wanted to play every day, so that was kind of a big deal. Sounds like no big deal, like, oh, you get a day off, but that was a big deal. And so I kind of just worked in the cage, got my head right, and struck out my first couple times on Sunday. So I was struggling. And that last at bat, I hit a double. So the work that I was doing, finally, I was trying to slow everything down, not stride as much. Mechanically, that's not to get into too much detail, but like slow things down.
Right.
And then I was happy to go on the road and put on the gray uniform and not hear the home crowd, because you expect on the road, but at home you don't want to hear the booze.
Yeah.
No, yeah.
And so then that first game in Milwaukee, I hit 2 home runs. Okay, so I'm starting to feel it, and the next day I hit a triple and scored, and we won 1-0. And so, okay, now it's starting to get back in the rhythm. And then that day game, we're facing a lefty, so it's always a little tougher as a left-handed hitter. First at bat, I got full count and just kind of squeaked a ground ball down the line for a double. And it's always nice to get that first hit. It kind of relaxes you. Then the next at bat, I hit a home run, and now I'm saying, okay, now I'm totally relaxed. And at that point, things just, I just sort of felt like I was, getting kind of taken away and along for a ride. And the new pitcher came in, hit a home run to right center field, and as you have more success, particularly as a hitter, it sort of dictates how they're going to pitch you the next at bat. So I kind of knew, okay, now they're going to go away from me. So I get a fastball away and I hit out to left field. So it kind of just kept building, and then now I have 3 home runs, a double, and a new pitcher comes in, and so now I'm trying to hit a 4th home run at this point. And
You're trying to.
Oh yeah, trying to. And so he throws me a fastball really low, and it's probably the hardest ball I hit the whole day, but I couldn't get it up in the air, so it was a line drive base hit up the middle.
Isn't that ironic that your best hit of the day was the single?
It is ironic. It's very ironic. But then the manager said to me, hey, go ahead and shower up, and come out of the game. I said, well, a couple guys get on, I might get a chance. for another at bat, which usually, you want to take your 5 for 5 with 3 home runs and just
No kidding.
Yeah,
not worry about
Put it in the
no,
bank
you don't
and
wanna
just,
leave-
yeah.
you don't wanna leave
Why
with a
mess with
strikeout
that?
or something
Right.
like that.
No,
right?
I'm gonna walk out on top.
And
Right?
walk out on top. And so then, sure enough, with 2 outs, Adrian Beltre, who's future Hall of Famer, hits a home run, and I get another at bat against the same guy, hit the single, and at this point, I'm just trying to get a pitch that I could handle and hit in the air, and I think it was like a 1-1 pitch, and I hit it really well. Kind of a funny little side story is they had a promotion at that time where if a fan picks one player to hit for the cycle that day, they win $1 million.
Wow.
And we didn't know anything about this because we're just playing the game.
And it could even be an opposing team player?
No, it has to be on the Dodgers,
home
right?
team.
So some lady picked me that day.
Oh.
And so if I miss home plate, if I know about this and miss home plate, some lady would have won $1 million because I had 3 home runs, a single and double, and that would have been a triple.
Triple,
if I don't,
yeah.
you still get the triple.
Oh man.
Yeah, so I'm happy I didn't know because that would have made for a tough decision. But then what's crazy is that we go to Arizona the next day, and the first pitch I saw off Kurt Schilling, I hit a home run and had 2 more hits, and then the next day I had 2 more home runs. So it was like going from 0 for 18 and hitting 230, to really struggling, to having this crazy week where everything was lined up.
So you mentioned, I'm sorry, Paul, do you mind?
Go ahead.
Yeah. You mentioned that that when you're on a positive streak, there's a little pressure that comes with that as well, because now you don't want to mess it up. You want to keep it rolling. So what was different this time? How were you able to stay in that flow state, or whatever you want to call it, where you just continued to have success rather than trying to overthink it and get ahead of yourself?
Yeah, I mean that's a good question. I eventually I did come out of it. It just lasted a little bit longer, but I really don't have a great answer why that time compared to some other times. But I think I just was very conscious of that happening. I'm just like, do your breathing. I was in a meditation and like just kind of take everything slow and just trying to slow things down and not think as much about the results. And then what happens, especially as a hitter, is all of a sudden this, like, you start hitting some home runs, this front shoulder, it starts to go faster, and then you're in trouble, right? So I was just trying, just stay in the middle of the field. Don't try to start, getting too jumpy up there because you're feeling good. And so it's constantly that experience talking to you saying, slow down.
So that's the observer talking to you, right?
Exactly.
In your mind, but it's all good stuff, because a lot of times for athletes, it's like, make sure you don't do this, and whatever you do, don't ground out, and we need
the negative.
Right, it's all the negative stuff
Right.
that we all deal with as human beings.
Yeah.
But I know, especially as athletes, whatever you do, don't go throw an interception out there.
Right.
As a quarterback, don't you talk to me about that, right? So what are the coaches? What are the managers? What are player? What do you guys talk about before you go? Who was talking to you while this was going on?
Yeah, that's a good question, because if it's a no-hitter, everybody's going to get away from you. Was it similar to that or not? Because is it a different cultural thing? And
yeah, no, I think when you get really hot, people don't want to mess with you. I mean, one other little side thing. There's a few other little side things, but one other side thing was my favorite hitting coach that I'd had was the hitting coach for Milwaukee. So, and it was Gary Matthews, the Sarge. He always when he played for the Cubs, he always give the salute. They called him Sarge, and just seeing him, saying hi, giving him a hug, and when I was struggling, it was just nice to have that, because I had played 2 years in Toronto with him and had my 2 best years right at that point. So just to see him, and then as I'm rounding third base, I'm running right towards their dugout, and he's there, and he gives me this whole thing. So it was cool. I think
cool.
Yeah.
That had to give you a lot of confidence, because it's kind of an energetic thing, just being around him, and he was around you when you were performing so well, and just feeling that.
So he was a guy, and there's always, and as an athlete, there's certain coaches throughout your career that believe in you so much that it lifts you up. Like, you just know, like, I know him and like certain managers, like, they want you in there every day, and they're like, they're putting you in ink on the lineup, and if you're hurt or something, like, they're devastated. So you have, and he was like one of those guys that just thought I was the greatest, and having him, I think, just being around him was helpful for me, knowing that what he thought of me, and also kind of not wanting to, as much as I was struggling at that time, not wanting to go in there and disappoint him, because he's like,
true,
he's telling everyone, oh, this guy's, watch out for this guy, type thing, and I don't want to let him down.
But belief and having that validation of belief in yourself from another is really, we talk about that often about everyone wants love.
Right.
We do it in the way of mentor, support, encouragement, and so even though you're having challenges, right, and getting booed at home, being around that in a different setting had something to do with you flipping, maybe, and staying in that space.
Yeah, I don't know, whatever it is, you can call it different things, whatever kind of energy, but it's like a little shift. And, for me, he's kind of the right person to be there at the right time. And, he's still rooting for his team to win. So it's not like, but, he's...
Right. But he's your guy.
He's my guy.
Yeah.
He's, I'm sure he was thrilled to experience that, even being on the other side.
So as you're going through the slump, though, how do you manage that part of it? So because we're talking about the day you hit the 4 home runs, but you had a rough stretch right before then. So how do you keep yourself from becoming too despondent and continuing to have that belief in yourself when things aren't going well?
Yeah, and I had a lot of slumps before that and after that. So I mean, that's part of the deal, right?
It's part of life, right?
Yeah, and at that point, my first full season was 95. So I had I'm like 8 years in at this point. So I've had enough ups and downs to know that it's really just about just grinding through the process. And I think the more times you fall down and get back up, the more you know when you are down that, hey, this isn't going to last forever. And on the flip side, I knew when I was super hot that that wasn't going to last forever, right? So, I kind of compare it, and I'm not a surfer, but I think it's like surfing. It's like the waves come, and you just have to be prepared so that when you get the wave, you can ride it, right? And if you're like too in your head and like, a wreck, then the wave's going to come. You're just going to get tumbled by it because you're not, in a place. But so that's why, for me, the process is so important. It's just like, okay, if I'm in this play, I do my tee work every day, I do this every day, and maybe I alter it a little bit and add some things when I need to change my swing or whatever, but this stuff is sacred. And not only for the physical side of it, but also just for the mental and the spiritual side of doing this every day.
Baseball players are so superstitious. I roomed with one when I was at SC, a guy named Rob Hurdle, who also played football. So superstition play into that part of the process, meaning not in a negative term, but just doing things the same way because you know that this is positive for you and will reinforce you and build belief for you to have a good day, good outing.
Yeah, I think there's definitely superstition, but I think it's more than that. I think because baseball is every day, right? So
right.
I think it's a lot of it too is just kind of, I compare it to like a triangle. So you get to the stadium and you want to be like mentally here. And then as you get to 7 o'clock, each thing you do is sort of narrowing the focus. And then by the time 7 o'clock runs, boom, I'm ready to go. And that's kind of how I see it. So, getting dressed at the same time, maybe going to the batting cage with, my shirt untucked and just my pants on was part of it. And then it's like, okay, now it's batting practice, I'm gonna put my pullover on. So even like little cues or whatever that seem stupid, maybe what you're wearing, or even I had, for a while I used, in Toronto, I used a black bat against left-handed pitchers and an ash-colored bat against right-handed pitchers because I wanted to have a different mindset. So I wanted to go up there and feel like a different, like this is my left-handed mindset. This is my right-handed mindset.
Really interesting.
Yeah, so I feel like certain cues are important, and that's how I viewed, whether even if you're playing cards with your buddies after hitting the cage before that, like that's part of just getting into that same.
It's the process, right? You mentioned the process. So that's we talk about that in our book, Trusting the Process, and Kobe Bryant's the example we set for. After he had a disastrous game as a rookie, he just went back to work, and he didn't, even at 19 years old, he didn't let it get him down because he knew that he was a great shooter and that the next time he went on the court, it would be fine. But you got to do the work to get that confidence so that you can. That's where the self-belief comes from.
You go back to work.
Yeah, you go back to work and
do what you do. Doing what you know will get you to where you want to be.
Exactly, and that's what being a veteran is really. I mean, it's like as a rookie, a rookie's going to go out there and go 4 for 4 and do all these things. You're going to have great success, but it's what's going to happen when you struggle, right? I mean, what's going to happen when you throw the interception and lose the game? So it's like you do that, and you say, okay, I made an error, we lost the game, done that before, and I'm going to have some times where I'm getting carried off the field. So I mean, that's just the way it is. So I think And it's also kind of muted, I think, my highs and lows just in general, life, because in baseball, it's like survival is you have to be able to just stay like this. And I think it sort of, maybe part of it is how I was built coming in, but I think even more so now, I'm super even keel.
So when you throw the pick, and I'll take me for example, which I did that quite a bit in Cleveland, and you come off the field and you work to get better all week, and you enter the next game in a similar situation, converting now to baseball, what do you do to change the narrative, to change the outcome? What do you do? Just
you mean in that same game?
Yeah,
type thing?
different game, like the next week.
Yeah.
Like, so you're in the same set. So let's just say you got bases loaded and you're up, and you need to hit to win the game, and you ground out.
Yeah.
Game over. You lose. Now you get the same situation the next week. I'm just kind of mindset, and you just go back to doing that routine of what you always do. How do you not keep the negative talk out of your mind in that moment before you're walking out to get to the batter's box? Yeah.
I mean, it's easy to simplify it and say, oh, I just did this, but it's like it's a constant battle. Like there's, you're going to have those negative thoughts come in, and you're going to fail sometimes, or things are going to happen. So it's not like I figured it out and then for the rest of my career I was cured of that. So I think if there's things to learn from, you learn from them. If it's like, hey, the guy, sometimes you got to say, the guy made great pitches. Like there's in baseball, every single play, every pitch, there's a winner and a loser, right? So, right? It's not, sometimes you got to tip your cap and say, that guy had some nasty stuff and he struck me out. But if it's like, okay, hey, I went up there and, I was, too anxious and swung at a bad pitch. The next time, okay, maybe I need to be more selective in the situation, right? Because sometimes you get in those key situations and you want to hurry up and go, right? And hit the first pitch that's close. And it's like, okay, that's not the right way to do it.
But you play golf, I know, and I play golf, and he doesn't play golf, but I'm getting smart enough to know when I've got a negative thought, when I'm over the putt or whatever, step away, reset. And I see you guys in the batter's box.
Yeah, do you do that when you're stepping out of the box? Is that part of that? It's just kind of reset.
So, I had an interesting little trick I did that I think was somewhat unique to me, but I saw some other teammates do similar things. But a good friend of mine, Carlos Delgado, who, borderline Hall of Fame type career, I'm really close to the Hall of Fame. We used to call it the little man on our shoulder that would be talking. But what I would do if I had too much of that, and I would step out and I'd hit my cleats really hard. And I did it because I wanted to get into my body. So my thought was, okay, you have your attention, and my attention is often, all of our attention's on our thoughts, right? So you go off in these tangents, whatever. And so when that little man in the shoulder is talking to me and saying, oh, here comes this pitch or swing or this guy's whatever he's saying, then it's like, okay, hit my cleats real hard. Now I feel my feet kind of vibrating because it's really easy to go up there. Nowadays, even more so. In baseball, there's so much analytics. So it's like, okay, this guy throws 72% fastballs in a 1-1 count. And so guys, I think, are up there and they can't even be in that right flow state because they're thinking too much.
Hey, Paul.
Yeah.
This is the part where we're supposed to tell people to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Okay, will you please do that then? I mean, if you enjoy it, please do.
And if you don't, do it anyways, because we need your help.
We do.
Also, we have a website called GameChangeNation.com. Just go there and subscribe and you'll get tons of free content.
And what we're really trying to do is create a community of people that love sports. And the great lessons that we learn from sports, but we want to hear from you.
We do. So we're going to have a bunch of social media pages from TikTok to Instagram to Twitter to Facebook. Instagram, I probably already said all of them. Please join them and tell us your stories. We'd love to hear from you. Oh, and we wrote a book.
Oh,
forgot that. The book is called Thru the Tunnel. It's available on Amazon now. If you go straight down here to this link that you can see below us, you will be able to purchase it. We'd love it if you could do it.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.